Hey guys, today we're going to be taking a logo and animating it in Apple Motion. This is something you know I love to do on this channel from time to time, but today is more exciting because the logo we're going to be working with is for my newest course, Motion Ignite. Motion Ignite is a more advanced Apple Motion course for more advanced users. I'm going to show you how to create super professional templates for Final Cut Pro users that you can use as an editor to save yourself time. Maybe you want to build them for clients to give them a consistent look, or maybe you want to build templates as a side hustle. So this is what the animation will look like when we're done with it. And I'm going to be needing this animation for all my promotional materials and even like within the course, for instance, on these title slides at the beginning of each chapter. And obviously it goes without saying that an animating logo is more impactful than a static one. Motion Ignite drops October 2nd, but we are doing pre-order pricing, the best deal you will ever get on Motion Ignite. That is live on my website like right now. And if you're new to Apple Motion, maybe this isn't the course for you. You might want to check out my beginner course, Motion Launchpad, or you can bundle them both together and save. So the designer of the Motion Ignite logo provided me with an AI file. So I can right click this and open it in Pixelmator Pro. And if I twirl down on all of these layers here, I can see that there's some extra elements that she accidentally left in the file that didn't make it into the final design. And I could go through and clean up all of these layers, but you came here for a Motion tutorial, so let's send this to Motion. So I'm going to hit the share button at the top right of the screen and select export. And I'm going to have my frame rate set to 60 frames per second on a 6-second timeline. And so once I've created that Motion Ignite logo, it gives me this little folder with a project inside of it. Let's open it up in Motion. Hey y'all, Editing Jen jumping in here. I forgot to say this part. If you belong to my Patreon community or the top tiers of my YouTube channel memberships here and you want to follow along with this tutorial, I will drop the AI version of the Motion logo into the Google Drive for those of you who have Pixelmator. And for those of you who don't, I will also drop in the Motion project that Pixelmator created so you can follow along right from this point on. Okay, thanks. So the dimensions of my Motion project are going to be the dimensions of the canvas in the Pixelmator file. So I'm going to first select project at the top of the project pane, head on over to inspector, and under properties, let's make this a 4K dimension. And so what I like to do is when I open a file from a designer is just twirl down on all these layers and assess what's going on, because sometimes there's just extra stuff in here that I don't need in my project. So I like to just clean up all of my folders. So this little play button inside of this O is in its own group. And so what I'm going to do is take the play button and the O shape, which is this circle here, and I'm going to group those together. Looking at this, there's a black circle here, which I don't think this is doing anything. So this must have been an old element in the design. I'm going to delete that. And then this green element here as well is not part of the final design, so I'm going to delete that as well. I see 2 copies of this purple circle. One of them is extraneous. I'm going to delete that. And then if we twirl down on this group, this is all of my Ignite letters. And one thing I want to draw your attention to is that Motion is not seeing these individual letters as actual text glyphs. It's seeing them as shapes. I'm going to twirl up on the Ignite group and I'm just going to disable it so we can focus our attention on this top element here that says Motion. So for the word Motion, I want the letters to start center of the screen and then expand outward to their final position. And so to make sure I don't mess up the composition of these letters, I'm going to work backward. So I'm going to cue up my playhead to the 1 second 15 frame mark. And I'm going to select all of those elements in my project pane. And I'm going to make a keyframe on the X position line. And then I'm going to back my playhead up to 25 frames in. And I'm going to make all of these X values 0. And so if you look, most of my elements did end up center frame, but some of them are clearly not centered. That's likely because of the way they were added in Illustrator. But I'm going to show you how to make sure everything is dead center. I'm going to drag in vertical and horizontal rulers at the 0.0 mark. And you want to make sure you have your overlays on here so you're seeing the wireframe around each element. And you want to make sure that the center dots on the wireframe are right in line with your rulers. So we can just select one by one, make sure that we're centered. And when we get to one that's not, like for instance, this O here, I'm going to, at the 25 frame mark where I've added that keyframe, I'm just going to change the X value on this one element so that the wireframe is centered on the ruler. And the same with these 3 rings. So now if I play back in my timeline, all of my elements start clustered together in the center of the frame, and then they expand out perfectly to their final position. At this point, I'm going to get rid of those ruler lines by just dragging them off the screen. Now I'd like to give this motion a more dynamic feel, so I'm going to open my keyframe editor and select all of those elements in my project pane. And I'm just going to grab these handles on my keyframes and sort of give them a more exaggerated S-curve. So the motion just feels generally more dynamic. Now let's cue up our playhead to the beginning of the timeline. You can see all of my elements are clustered together, but at the beginning of my animation, I don't want to see anything except for this play button group. Let me solo it so you can see what I'm talking about. I only want to see this. So I'm going to unsolo that, and I'm going to cue up my playhead to the 30 frame mark in my timeline. And then I'm going to select all the other elements except for that play button, and I'm going to hit the I key. So if you look down at my timeline, I'm going to close my keyframe editor. We're not seeing any of those elements for the first 30 frames of my project, and they're already in motion by the time they come into view. And I would also like to add a little fade on these elements. So I'm just going to select the first one and add a fade in, fade out behavior. I'm going to make the fade out time 0, and I'm going to leave the fade in time at 20 frames. Then I'm going to copy that fade in, fade out behavior and paste it to the rest of those elements in that group. So now they all kind of fade on. This is like 95% of the way there, but there's one thing in this animation that's bugging me that I want to fix. If I scrub my playhead slowly, I do feel like this incomplete teal circle is really catching my eye and not in a good way. Do we see that? So I'm going to do a little trick here. Let's grab that teal circle, and I'm going to conceal it a little bit with the Colorize filter. So head on up to Filters, Color, and Colorize. And I'm just going to select the remap whites and color pick that dark blue that makes up the rest of the logo. And then I'm going to drag from the white color well to the black one so they're both the same color. And then I'm going to keyframe the mix on this Colorize so that when the animation starts moving, that ring is the dark blue, but then it gradually turns into that teal. I think it's just going to camouflage it a little bit. So I'm just going to guess where I should be placing my playhead. I'm at the 38 frame mark. I'm going to make a keyframe on mix, and then I'm going to run my playhead just a few frames and dial the mix down. And I'm just going to play with the placement of these keyframes until I feel like I'm not noticing that teal ring so much at the beginning. That is a great trick, and I'm sure you're probably wondering, like, how is Motion Ignite different from the other motion tutorials you see me do here on YouTube? Let me give you a little sneak peek at what you can expect in Motion Ignite. Like I said, I'm going to show you how to build templates from scratch for Final Cut Pro that are super useful and function really well. I get into all the rigs for you. We talk about on-screen controls, drop zones, and so much more. It's a super intense course, but I'm really excited for you to see it. I'm really proud of it. All right, back to this tutorial. The last thing I want to do with this component of our logo is for this play button to scale up at the beginning of our animation and also rotate around on the Z-axis until it lands in its final position. So I'm going to cue up my playhead to the beginning of my entire timeline here. Let's select that play button, and I'm going to add a keyframe on scale and dial it all the way down to 0. Then I'm going to jump to the 30 frame mark in my timeline, increase that scale all the way back to 100. And then down in my keyframe editor, I'm just going to make this an S curve. So that works for our scale. Let's add that rotation. In my inspector, I'm going to twirl down on rotation, and on the Z rotation, let's add parameter behavior, and I'm going to select the ramp behavior, which really just ramps a parameter to a final value. So on the start value, I'm going to make this a value of 330. And I want the spin to be done by the 1 second 15 frame mark. So I'm going to cue up my playhead to that point, select the ramp behavior, and hit the O key on my keyboard to trim it up. And then I'm also going to crank up the curvature all the way up to 100. So it again has a curve to it. It's not a linear move. So that's where I'm going to leave it for the motion animation. Let's draw our attention to the word ignite underneath. I'm going to twirl up this group and enable the group that has the ignite characters in it. And I'm going to twirl down on this so we can see each of the individual characters. I'm going to start with the bottom one, which is the eye. And I want to recolor these characters briefly before they land on this blue-purple gradient. And instead of reaching for the Colorize or any of the other color tools, I'm going to do this with the stroke filter. So head on over to filter, border, and select stroke. On the stroke type, let's select gradient. Twirl down on gradient, grab my first color tag, and I'm going to, on this one, enter a value of C8A300. And on the second color tag, let's enter in a value of CB0061. And so right now, if you look, you can see the stroke is just a border on the perimeter of my letter. I'm going to make some changes here. I'm going to switch the position from outside to inside, and then I'm going to crank up the width, and that's just going to fill my whole character. So as you know, I want the characters to start with this new gradient, but then eventually fade into the original blue and purple. And I also want each character to fade in as well. So I'm going to do both of these things with the custom behavior. So selected on that eye, let's head over to behaviors, parameter, and select custom. And under add parameter, I'm going to add the opacity. So under properties, blending and opacity. And I also want to add another parameter. I'm going to go down to filters, stroke, and let's add the mix to this as well. Let's keyframe the opacity first. I'm going to cue up my playhead to the 25 frame mark, and I'm going to add a keyframe here, and I'm going to dial down the opacity to -100. Then I'm going to run my playhead to the 50 frame mark, and I'm going to change that opacity value to 0, which in reality means that our opacity is going to be at a value of 100. And again, in my keyframe editor, I'm going to give this a bit of an S-curve. And now let's draw our attention to the mix of our stroke filter on that custom behavior. Remember, the mix is like how much of the stroke we're going to see. So again, I'm going to cue up my playhead to that same 25 frame mark. And I'm going to make a keyframe on the mix. And then let's jump all the way down to the 2 second mark in our timeline. And I'm going to bring the mix all the way down on the slider. So our eye starts with the pink gradient and then fades down to the blue and purple gradient. And I want to play with the curve of that in my keyframe editor. So I'm going to disable the opacity keyframe so I can see just my mix keyframes. And I'm going to play with the tangents on this so it stays pink for a beat and then slowly fades to the purple, like so. Okay, I'm going to close my keyframe editor, and I'm going to select both the stroke filter and the custom behavior on that eye in my project pane, right-click to copy those, and I'm going to paste them on the rest of the letters in the word ignite. So now all my characters at the same time are fading up in pink and yellow, and then fading down to purple and blue, like so. And then from here, I'm going to stagger the letters in my timeline. So starting from the bottom, because we know this is the I, I'm going to leave that where it is. Let's select the next letter, which is a G, and I'm just going to move it over like 9 frames. The next one, I'm going to move 9 frames from that one, so a full 18 frames. The next one will be 27 frames. And then let's kind of speed it up a little bit. On this next one, I'm only going to move it 32 frames, and the last one will move just a hair past that. So you can see all of my Ignite letters are staggered, and I love that. I think that looks so great. So there you have it. We have animated the Motion Ignite logo. If you want to know more about Motion Ignite, I will link to the product page on my website down in the description here. And don't forget, we're doing the bundle deal with Motion Ignite and Motion Launchpad. You guys, thank you so much for hanging out. I'll see you again.